Now, the Buckeye Extra podcast with Joey Kaufman and Rob Oller from the Columbus Dispatch.
Welcome, everyone, listeners, Buckeye fans. Welcome back to the Buckeye Extra Football Podcast. I'm Joey Kaufman, joined by Rob Oller. It's another game week for Ohio State. It's the start of Big Ten play. They were idle last weekend. Now they're back, starting Big Ten play with a trip to Washington, Ohio State's first trip since 2007. Brian Hartline, James Laurinaitis were not assistant coaches then. They were playing for the Buckeyes, and Rob Oller was in the press box, still covering it as always.
Yeah. Oh God. I remember that mainly because Jim Tressel shows more emotion than he had previously or since. Jumping around on the sideline, going Tiger Woods fist pump. He got pretty excited in that game. I think it was a blocked kick or block punt or something like that. I think that that got him revved up, kind of a momentum shift. It's a beautiful stadium, right on, what is it, Lake Washington, I think, or some bay. I don't know what it is, but I think I counted.
Isn't there a Mott Lake up there?
Yeah, I think I counted from the press box looking out over the water like 254 boats. I actually counted them, I remember.
Did
Were like,
I read your Scarlet and Gray Matter.
oh yeah, back in the day, Scarlet and Gray Matter.
Scarlet and Gray Matter. You did count the boats. 154 boats were allegedly
Okay, 154.
in Union Bay outside Husky Stadium. I'm impressed you counted. I thought maybe they just read that stat in the press box, but you were.
No, I counted them. I may have missed a couple. You never know with boats, right? They're coming, they're going, whatever. A couple sink, a couple don't. Um, but it was a big game for Ohio State. I think it was their first road trip, first Big Ten, at least first Big Ten road game, I believe, that year. Um,
No, that was a non-conference game then.
oh God, yeah, exactly.
This
Sorry.
this is their first Big Ten.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just
That was in the
yeah,
Pac-10 days. There was no Pac-12,
right.
Pac-10.
Yeah, I think that who was the coach? Don James? I don't know if it.
No, it was not Don James. It was post Rick Neuheisel.
Oh, it was who was the guy?
Washington was in the doldrums at this time.
Right. It's the guy with the white mustache. I think a
Willingham,
mustache.
Tyrone Willingham.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was upset because there were so many Ohio State fans. There were like 8,000, it was some 8,000 Ohio State fans or something filled the stadium and sang the alma mater after or something. It was pretty impressive turnout for Buckeye Nation.
And then this was a year before Washington went 0-12, which was sort of the low point for them in the modern era.
Yeah, anyhow,
Better
it's very
team.
loud. It's a very loud stadium. It's a beautiful setting. I bet there's a certain percentage of Ohio State fans that don't even realize Washington's in Seattle. I think as a kid, it's like I wasn't exactly sure where I was like, you got Washington State. Where is Washington? Where is it? But I think we've come a long way, and I was just a dope probably in my youth that didn't know exactly where Washington was. But it is in Seattle, one of my favorite cities. Uh, yeah, we'll just leave it at that because I like seafood. I'm a seafood fan, and it's gorgeous, especially this time of year. Just a quick aside, right before I got married many, many, many years ago, I kind of did a last ditch, am I sure about this, camping trip, and I am not much of a camper, out in the Olympic Peninsula rainforest and find out later I'm out like in a tent in the middle of like the Hoh rainforest where there are bears running around. I was completely clueless. I could have, it could have been Grizzly Man. I could have gone Grizzly Man on me or something, but I survived it. Uh, and I'm here to I'm here to live to tell about it. And so, yeah, anyhow, Joey's a West Coast guy. He's got a soft spot probably for the Pacific Northwest. Either that or was it a big rival of SC and down in LA?
Not a big rivalry, but I have covered a game there.
Well, just culturally, I know this that people in Seattle don't really like California because all these Californians at that time were coming up and living in the Pacific Northwest to get away from the high cost of living or the taxes or whatever you want to call it. Uh, they were going to the Pacific Northwest. So
Now,
have we covered the cultural end of Seattle in the whole thing, or is there more you want to add?
unless you want to talk about fog and rain and caffeine and all the other, I guess, things.
Nirvana?
The boats, and I think we're all set. Ohio State's going to get to enjoy the scenery. I don't know if "enjoy" is the right word, but they will be boots on the ground in Seattle earlier than usual for a road game. The Buckeyes are going to fly out Thursday and get there an extra day before they typically travel for road games, and a little bit different than last year when they went out to Oregon for that midseason Big Ten game. They left only the day before the game on Friday and stayed on quote unquote Buckeye time, and they ended up losing the game, and they reevaluated how they're going to travel for Big Ten play. They didn't pin the loss on the travel logistics, but they did travel a lot in the college football playoff, and Ryan Day did bring that up at his Tuesday press conference and said that they thought maybe when they were getting there a couple days ahead of time, it allowed them to acclimate well, and it worked in the playoff, and so that's going to be the way things are going to go moving forward. And they do have one of these every year. They play at USC next year. They play at Oregon in 27, and then at UCLA in 28. So that's this could be the playbook they use to hit the road.
Interesting stat. I think read this right, Joey, maybe, but I may not got the late games. I think teams in the Eastern time are 3-13 when traveling to the West Coast.
That's right.
3-13 traveling to the West Coast. If you're an
The
East Coast team or Eastern time zone team,
Eastern or Central time zone. When they
or
went
Central.
last year, they were 3-12, and then Michigan State lost at USC last week in a game that kicked off at 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 o'clock Eastern time. So I'm sure that was fun
Wow.
on their body clocks. Body clock
Wow.
is less of an issue for Ohio State in this game because it's 12:30 Pacific time kick, 3:30 Central or 3:30 Eastern. But it's mostly the miles you're gonna have to lug via plane and all that.
Yeah. Although these guys travel in style probably now. I think they charter, right?
Charter flights. But yeah, it is a question mark. How just the travel affects teams in this new expanded bi-coastal Big Ten going east to west to east. It's notable that the both Oregon and Washington last season were unbeaten when teams from the Eastern and Central time zones came out to the Pacific Northwest, and probably helps that those two teams. One, Oregon was really good last year, and two, they both have intimidating venues to play at. Washington has won 22 in a row at home, second longest active winning streak in the FBS, behind only Georgia. Haven't lost at home since 2021. So they've had two coaching tenures. Jed Fish and Kalen DeBoer were neither of those coaches lost a home game. I think you have to go back to the Jimmy Lake days in 21 where they've lost a home game.
Yeah, again, tough venue. Uh, Great venue.
And
You know,
probably not the easiest first time road game for somebody like Julian saying, somebody like Brian Hartline. So you have a first time starting quarterback, you have a first time play caller, a center in Carson Hintzman, who's not been really in this type of environment since his first season in 2023. So a lot of moving parts, new parts for the first road game, and you don't really get to ramp up with say a game at Maryland or Rutgers, maybe in a 40, 50,000 seat stadium. We're going to a really tough one, but they've beaten a good team like Texas start the year. They just haven't really played maybe in an unfriendly, unhospitable place. And Washington's a good team. They're not ranked, but this team does look formidable. Maybe we can get into that as well.
Yeah, let's get into that. The most formidable guy, the biggest weapon is this Demond.
Mon
Is that
Williams,
it? Demond Williams Jr., the transfer in, um,
kind of
who,
like a soft transfer. Like he and Julian Saint are both transfers, but
right,
more of a procedural thing because Demond Williams signed with Arizona and then followed Jed Fish to Washington after Fish replaced Kalen DeBoer. So both of them spent a couple weeks at a school in the winter of
right.
2024, then left after some late portal movement. Both actually connected to that same job search because Julian Sayin leaves Alabama to come to Ohio State after Saban retires. DeBoer replaces Saban in Alabama, which then causes the chain reaction of Jed Fish leaving for Arizona for Washington. Then Demond Williams follows him there. So Nick Saban's retirement actually affected both of these quarterback situations.
6 degrees of separation to old Nicky Satan, huh? Yep, wherever he goes. Let's talk about Williams. Very quick, very shifty, and traditionally, and I guess you could say this about a lot of teams, right? But Ohio State defenses have struggled a little bit against these dual threat guys who can kind of hurt you with their legs as much as their arms. Again, maybe you can say that about a lot of defenses, but at least under Jim Knowles early on, it seemed like those were the kind of guys that could sort of do some damage.
I mean, they get a lot of teams, right? They call them dual threats.
Yeah.
Threat.
Well, he's especially quick.
But
I know
yeah,
that
he leads all big.
Matt Patricia, yeah, Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator, and Ryan Day compared him to Kyler Murray in terms of his burst, how quick he is, and his size. Really, he's what 5'11". That may be stretching it. I'm not sure. Like 190.
5'11",
But
190. Yeah, you got that right.
yeah, but Gabriel for Oregon last year wasn't real tall and hurt the Buckeyes in the first meeting. So.
Yeah, they did a good job in the second meeting of really confining him to the pocket and not allowing him to extend plays, and they shoved him in there, and he couldn't do a whole lot.
Right. So we'll see. I've been impressed with Patricia's defense so far. What do you think? I wasn't sure. I thought they'd be good. They were always going to be good because they've got the talent, but you just weren't sure when they made that transition. Anytime you change coordinators, but they really haven't missed a beat, with one exception, which maybe we can touch on a little bit. Is run defense has not been spectacular. Hasn't really hurt them much, but not spectacular compared to recent defenses and what they've done against the run.
Yeah, this will be, I think, a revealing game for the state of the Ohio State defense because you could really take a glass half full approach with this and say that hey, and I think you'd be totally justified by saying this approach, but they lost 8 starters to the NFL. You have a new defensive coordinator. You opened the season against Texas. They have not missed a beat. They're as good as last year, if not better, the way they've been versatile with the fronts and moving Arvell Reese around and disguising coverages with Caleb Downs. They are building upon what Jim Knowles had established last year, despite all the roster turnover. I think there's a lot of encouraging signs that this defense could take a step forward. The flip side of that is they have not, to this point, played another Big Ten team. Their strength of schedule is not high at this point, especially after playing Grambling State in Ohio and Texas, the team that sort of prompted, I think, a lot of the celebrations about the Knowles to Patricia transition is maybe a flawed team, and Arch Manning is not going to be the number one overall pick in 6 months, or at least the perception of him is I think certainly changed, and I think Arch is maybe a little behind where people thought he was going to be. So the glass half empty view is sort of, I guess you would say, in sort of the way people often view college football, is they haven't played anybody yet. And Washington, I think, is a team that is really good on offense with Damon Williams. They have a good running back and Jonah Coleman as well. Denzel Boston, the wide receivers, capable pass catcher as well, a bigger target. And the skill talent they have there, I think, is really as good as Ohio State's going to see in the Big Ten when Oregon and Indiana are not on the regular season schedule this year. So I think if we are recording this podcast early next week and raving about Ohio State's defense under Matt Patricia, that is a good sign for where things are trending, because I think you want to see a performance from them that is replicable to what they showed against Texas and against, I think, a pretty dynamic offense.
Yeah, and Washington leads the nation by 55 points a game. So there's that. I think Coleman leads the nation, 9 rushing touchdowns, I believe. Um, Leads the nation. Ohio State has not allowed a rushing touchdown yet. So, this is like hammer meets uh, other hammer. This is not necessarily hammer meets nail. This is two hammers going to see which one's going to mangle the other one or come out ahead. Game of chicken, as it were.
And Washington has not gone through a gauntlet of a schedule by any means. Either they opened against Colorado State, played UC Davis, which is an FCS school, and then had the Apple Cup against Washington State last weekend. So they are, I think, a curiosity in their own way, because you look at them same way as Ohio State. Even though they're playing competition that's not in their weight class, they look really good, and so I think we'll learn a lot about both of these teams, and certainly the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I didn't think Washington, they're kind of a mystery team. I mean, 2 years ago, very strong, of course. Um, Played for it all
Yeah,
against Michigan, which was very good Michigan team. Cheaters, but good. And then last year they kind of had to regroup with a new coach. And then this year, maybe they've found their footing. We'll see. Yeah, I don't know where Washington recruits from. It's an interesting place because Seattle, I mean, Seattle's a large area, but I would not say Seattle is like an incredible recruiting base compared to Southern California or the entire state of Ohio or there's other Texas, Florida. I mean, Seattle is, if you can keep guys home, you're doing all right. But there is sort of an appeal. I mean, guys go to Oregon because of the flash, because of Nike, that whole thing, their high flying offense and just sort of the uniforms and the whole thing. Washington doesn't have quite that same vibe, but get guys to Seattle and, there's NIL opportunities, right? I think Microsoft's up there, isn't it? You know, maybe get Bill Gates in there and, throw some money at you like Phil Knight does at Oregon, and you're going to be in pretty good shape.
yeah. I mean, Washington's like a lot of those schools in the West Coast where you have to lean on Southern California recruiting quite a bit. Damon Williams came from Arizona. That's another place where you're able to try to attract some talent. That's another good West Coast hotbed, the Phoenix area. But Seattle's, I think, a little better positioned than maybe if you were in Eugene or trying to pull kids from that state. It's a little better talent, but you have to get kids who want to get on a plane, because it is not adjacent to every 5-star prospect, but they do have some. I mean, JT Tuimoloau, Emeka Ibuka, G. Scott, all from the Seattle areas. But if you're trying to fill out 85-man scholarship or 100-man roster, it's, you'll have to expand your recruiting region.
Yeah, there's talent out there for sure. You just named three big ones, and Washington has attracted talent, and through the decades. They've had some pretty good quarterbacks. I mean, this isn't some minor league Big Ten team. I mean, I don't know where Washington is on the pecking order. Washington let's put this, Washington's ceiling is a lot higher than, say, a Purdue or a Minnesota, I mean, it's a lot higher. They played for the national title. I mean, there's no comparison. And I know Indiana's all the rage lately, but Washington's, a better program or has been. Um, so
Won a
this
national
isn't
championship more recently than Penn State. Even it has a split
no,
in 1991 under Don James.
right. Didn't they have Entman? That's before your time. He was
Well,
I think he was, his last name was Entman. I think he was a D line, but I can't be certain. I've seen a lot come and go. But yeah, this is not I mean, they're better than UCLA. I think over the last 50 years, they're better than UCLA, right? At least the last 25 for sure. I don't know why I picked UCLA because UCLA, that bar's pretty low right
so
now.
right now, everyone's picking on UCLA right now.
Everybody's picking
Of
on
the West Coast
UCLA.
schools, they're certainly, I think, the team that is at the lowest at the total poll of these four West Coast schools. But all of them look like big adds to the Pac-12 on the field right now. Oregon won the conference last year. Washington's unbeaten right now. USC's unbeaten right now as well. So three pretty good teams to add to the conference, and certainly a challenging road trip for the Buckeyes as well.
I think this is what the Big Ten was hoping for. Maybe not individual schools. I'm not sure Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State were hoping that USC, Oregon, and Washington would be a huge threat to win the conference, which is part of the reason why they want to have guaranteed spots uh, in the playoff moving forward. Because I mean, that's some talent out there, like you said.
And they play one of these every year. Next year, they're going to play at USC, but their non-conference schedule includes the second part of the home and home series against Texas. So they will play at Austin early in the season and also have a trip to Los Angeles. So you have two longer trips during the regular season. You know, Penn State comes off the schedule next year for them, but those are two
I
long.
don't like that, by the way. Yeah, I know the way the schedule works, but Penn State should be on there every year. I know
Uh,
Penn State didn't want that. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah. I don't know how hard Ohio State fought for it, but
Well, I say that, but look at the record against the Nittany Lions. Like, what's it, 10, 11? How many in a row is it against James Franklin's bunch?
have
I
only
think
lost.
2016 was the last win.
16 was the last loss.
So yeah, they're a threat, but they're a threat on paper. Paper tiger, paper lions. How's that? Paper nits.
Nip
We'll say this year.
Nits nip at their heels though.
They do. They're always good games typically, but anyhow, they're not washing. We've got Huskies. So now we have a dog, right? I'm trying to think, is that the first dog mascot or am I missing something obvious? I think that would be the first dog mascot that's in the Big Ten. Am I missing something obvious here?
Well, I hadn't come prepared.
We don't have bulldogs. There's no bulldogs. What else would there be? The Greyhounds, the Huskies. I'm surprised there's no pit bull mascot yet. That's, the pit bulls. Um, anyhow,
You might be right. I'm now cycling through all the Big Ten stops in my head.
I have to.
There's certainly felines with Northwestern and Penn State, but I don't know if they're canines.
I don't think there's any. I don't believe there's any canines. You got Bruins, which, I guess UCLA when they were coming up with, Bears was just too easy, too simple for UCLA to say the Bears. But the Bruin is that a young bear?
It is a baby bear, and they're called the Bruins because University of California, Berkeley was the first UC school, and they're the Golden Bears, and UCLA was the second in the UC system established, and they go by the Bruins, the baby bears, and they have the
Well,
blue.
there you go. There you go. There you go. Baby blue, the baby blue color, the baby. I mean, how can you take yourself seriously, Joey, if you're the baby bears?
That is something growing up in a USC family I've heard before. Believe it or not.
Oh, all right. Okay. So what's your pick? Who do you think who do you think's gonna win this game? I went Buckeyes, and I went Buckeyes fairly big. I think I had something like 38 to 17. And the 17, I was gonna go lower on that, but I just figured, well, the Huskies, they're leading the nation. So if you're ever gonna have a time where you give the opponent more points than you think you probably should, it's this one. Uh, Again, it's gonna get back to we're gonna find out what Ohio State's defense is really about this weekend.
I guess we can sink our teeth into this matchup a little more.
Oh boy.
Uh,
Yeah. What's your pick? Did you have a pick?
so
Or
in the
are you too scared to put it on the table?
no,
I know, I'm kidding.
we are contractually obligated to make a pick. Well,
No, this is true. What was your pick?
so in the preseason, I had to do five, however many bold predictions. That was a post I did on in the lead up to the year. That was one assignment I had, and one of my bold predictions was Ohio State to fall to Washington in an upset. But
Ooh.
but now I've hedged my bets, and now that it's the game week, I've actually picked Ohio State. Their defense looks, I think, ahead of schedule, so I'm covered. I'm covered either way.
Yeah,
Um,
I like that. That's a true sports writer
I
cover.
although
Hedge the bet.
hedge your bets. I mean, I think Ohio State's defense has looked good enough where I have a little more confidence in them. I do think going to the West Coast is a challenge. The the part of this matchup where I think Ohio State ultimately wins is their offense against Washington's defense. Uh, you they are sort of in the middle of the pack nationally in passing yards allowed per game and some of the efficiency passing stats as well in the 60s or 70s in pass defense, and that is something Ohio State should be able to, I think, take advantage of with the weapons they have. Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Max Clare caught his first touchdown against Ohio, so he's being, I think, more involved in the offense. And this is a defense that also plays a lot of man coverage with Ryan Walters, the former Purdue head coach, who's now their defensive coordinator. As we saw in the playoff, Ohio State tended to, I think, be at their best when they played man teams. Texas, which ran a lot of zone against them in the playoff, and some this year posed some challenges in that front. But if Ohio State's receivers are being covered one on one, I like that matchup for them. I picked Ohio State 35-21.
That sounds about right. We haven't touched on this, but for those who follow the recruiting, this is kind of a big game for both these programs, right? I mean, Ohio State has been getting guys out of the Seattle area, as you mentioned, JT and Emeka and um, others through the years. Who else did you said it was Emeka,
Yeah,
JT? Oh, G. Scott. Um, so you win in the Huskies' backyard, you can kind of that pipeline maybe continues. I'm not sure how much one game matters to these kids, these recruits, but for Washington, that's a coup win. If you can win, you show your program's back. It's legit, and maybe you keep some guys from leaving home.
yeah, I view it more probably in that context where this is a springboard type of game for Washington. If they're able to pull off the upset, they'll have a big crowd. Year two under Jeb Fish with a second year starting quarterback and Demond Williams, and you could really start to point to the future with a big upset over Ohio State. So I think it's important for more from that perspective than a single win, because now if they pull off the upset, they'll probably be ranked, and you start to see some momentum around them building.
Sounds fair.
That's
A true fact.
I mean, this does feel to me a game where Ohio State. I mean, we cover so few games in the regular season where it truly feels like Ohio State is at risk of losing the game, and if they come out and they are messing around, they turn the ball over, there are penalties early on. That things can snowball, and they could lose, and this feels like one of those type of games where if you don't come out and you are not on the ball, that you could be in trouble. I think a fast start's probably important in this kind of game too, because you take the crowd out of it, and if you don't and you get behind, it keeps them energized and all that. I do think there'll be a lot of Ohio State fans though there. I think the crowd's supposed
Hmm.
to be interesting at the 70,000 seat stadium. I'm sure Ohio State fans will be able to get their hands on some tickets. I remember doing a story last year before the Oregon game. One thing people had mentioned was there was a good turnout among the Ohio State fans last year for that trip to Austin Stadium, but they hadn't been to Austin Stadium since I believe maybe the 60s or the 50s. I can't remember the exact timeline on that, but because of that distance, it was a novelty game for so many fans, sort of a bucket list thing. If you're one of those folks who wants to go to all the Big Ten road stadiums, now you have four new schools to visit, and both of those Pacific Northwest schools, Oregon and Washington, are very high on that list for folks. So I think a lot of the people who were interested or eager to go to Autzen Stadium last year are going to be at Husky Stadium this year to see the Buckeyes.
Yeah, that's part of the reason I wanted I thought it'd be good to have Cal or Stanford join the Big Ten, just because for fans' sake, you're going to the Bay Area. Let's face it, most of the fans that travel, or at least a decent chunk of them, have some moolah and can afford to do it. And the Bay Area, San Francisco, SF, whatever you want to call it, is a nice landing spot. You know, you're near wine country. They don't care about the game. They just want to come out here and ride the cable cars.
I think Ohio State fans care a lot about seeing the stadium, and the
Well,
game.
yeah, the stadium, yeah, but Cal has a great stadium. I can't speak to Stanford, but
Man,
Cal's one of the most beautiful stadiums. And I just read today where I believe it's called the Hanover or the earthquake fault runs right under Cal Stadium, right under the field. Like, I mean, it's directly there. So if the big one hits, that would be a heck of an experience right there. Cut that field right in half, and the west half goes into the ocean. The east half has oceanfront property.
yeah, I mean, Cal and Stanford have nice venues. Stanford's is smaller, and I don't
Never been there, never seen it. So
Cal, but I mean, Washington and Oregon, I think, are two of the best settings in college.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's like a
That's a win. Those are, like, to your point, they're destination spots, especially if you haven't been there in a while. Um, Very nice. Plus, you got wine country in Oregon, the Willamette Valley. If you're a wine and cheese type, usually that's mostly Michigan fans, but the Ohio State fans have their people that like their Pinot Noir and their
I,
cab.
I brought back mine last year from
Oh, that
Oregon.
you did. I didn't get any of it, but you did bring some back.
I didn't. It hasn't been consumed. I still have it. You can have some.
Okay, well, great. Well, we'll invite you. We'll have you over, Joey, and bring some wine. Just don't show up empty-handed.
Yeah,
That's all I ask.
I don't think wine country extends all the way to Seattle, so I don't think I'll be bringing back beverages from this one, unfortunately. But as I said before, I do have some from last year.
Yeah, yeah, apple juice. Seattle's coffee and Washington apples. That's more east. I think that's out by Washington State,
But
Spokane
we have
way.
apples here too.
Yeah, we get good ones. Yeah, the apples down here. I'm coming straight from the Bay Area here, Oakland, where, by the way, experienced an earthquake Monday, 4.3. So that's a decent, right, just south of Oakland, which is where I am. I mean, it was like hop, skip away, middle of the night, the whole lot of shaking going on. Let's just put it that way. And now Joey's an old hand at this. I had to ask him about, you know, the where they call them tremblers, where they call them. I mean, you're a Southern California guy. You get all kinds of stuff down there.
Aftershocks.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. There were none of those. But anyhow, I think there's going to probably be an earthquake. My final thing, there'll be an earthquake. There'll be some ground rattling up in Husky Stadium. I think when the Buckeyes, win this pretty handily. I think you want to stay away from a four-quarter game if you're Ohio State. That'll be the issue. You don't want to be in that loud stadium having it close late. And I think after a relatively closely played first half, Ohio State will make some adjustments. And as Joey said, I think the offense will get on track the second half.
There you have it. We'll see if there is indeed an earthquake at Husky Stadium on Saturday afternoon in the form of the result. We both like the Buckeyes this weekend. Stay tuned. Enjoy the game. Thanks for enjoying this podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And thanks for listening, downloading. Visit dispatch.com for more. Thanks, everyone.